back, everyone, as we come on into our second set of the day. We just watched Envy have a pretty surprising, I think, 4-1 over Virtus Pro. Now we're going into Renegades versus NIP. My name's Gormizer. Join me on the desk for this one. It's the guy who casted with me for the last one. It's going to be Nick Pretty Hair Keo. And I think this one's going to be pretty interesting because of the fact that, well, right now I am on the side of NIP as undefeated, and I want to see how long they keep that up.
This one's going to be interesting because NIP could literally pick anything right now. And I think that's what's so scary about them is that has not only been what they're legitimately playing off of this season, that's kind of been their shtick, but now this is a top matchup versus a bottom matchup. This is an undefeated team versus a nearly nothing but defeated team in the Renegades. So not only are the NIP boys going in with a lot of confidence here, but I think they're going to be so far ahead in this matchup that there's a chance that they can just pull out, you know, what we would consider to be like a meme draft. But at the same time, because you're not used to playing against it, it will have its merits for that reason.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see specifically new maps. Again, there's been a little bit of meta shifts coming in, and some of those things could hit, I think, more DPS players overall, but Barrack was a big change, and Barrack has been very big through like every player, every front line, and that's where you can kind of look towards the Renegades specifically. Hero is one of those players that has had a relatively large impact for this team, and I feel like it's just unfortunate that he hasn't been able to, I want to say, showcase that as much.
Yeah, I think in that last set, we didn't see either team or either guy that like they love Barrack so much they're going to be like first picking it. If anything, there was a bit of an Inara prioritization there.
Oh yeah.
And because of that, I don't think Envy felt a lot of pressure to Barrack. So I don't know if I've really seen the full extent of those Barrack changes. A lot of people were very, very quick to jump to conclusions on the Barrack change, say, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy, yada, yada, yada. I think when you look at a team like Na'Vi, who really just objectively loves that Barrack, they love to put Lazy there, and he'd be happy to get it every single game. If they continue to, and if they start to prioritize it first every single game, then that's when I think I'll start to be more convinced of like, all right, these were really impactful changes. But for Hero, I don't know. I don't really know. We saw an Inara clip, we saw a Fernando clip, we saw all kinds of stuff that he's going to be looking to do today. And a lot of times point front lines, it was very weird to see VP with that prioritization of Inara, because a lot of times point front lines just kind of get what they get. And
they don't have to worry too much about it. But on the other side of, well, a different coin, I guess, really, it's going to be Invocal there. We've talked about him a lot, and I believe I saw a 2.0 KDA for him across all of that.
Which is nuts.
Which is insane, especially considering, I mean, look at it. What was it, a 10 and 34? They've won 10 maps. They are 1 and 8 as it is right now. And he still has a 2.0. Like, this guy finds kills consistently. He plays so many different champions. And it's just, it does come down to these very key moments that it's unfortunate for the Renegades. Again, all 5 of them play really well. They just never find the win as a set.
It's literally his reputation this season. Invocal is just a robot. This was the situation on SK. They would lose and lose and lose. They'd never win. Maybe one map per, or one game, one set per season, per split. He's still got this crazy KD. He's still having these the historic like 27-3 game. I think it was I want to say it was on Stone Keep with like a Victor or
there was a split. I know there was a split stone on Drogos he did really well on too.
Yeah, he has these performances even when his teams are losing. His teams are getting 4-1, 4-0'd, and he's still popping off, and that's what makes that guy so special. He's just a standout player on the team that's really at the bottom of the league.
Well, he does so many incredible things, and a lot of the things going on with the Renegades. Again, the players themselves, you look at Invocal, you look at Shadow, you look at Moonchopper, Viral, or Hero. All 5 of them play incredibly well. They're all incredibly mechanically talented. And it just comes down to, well, something's going wrong between all 5 of them that lead them to be 1 and 8. But honestly, the only way to really find out how they're feeling, especially in this kind of scenario, when you're the bottom of the bottom going up against the top of the top, is to go down to them. Their coach, I believe, will be here in just a second, is Powtek. I mean, he has been able to come through. I know they have a lot of drafting skill as well. What do you think it is about the Renegades, I guess, that kind of breaks them down? Where's the disconnect?
I think there's a couple of different ways that teams are playing the game right now. At the start, it was pretty tough. If you weren't a team that was versatile with how much the meta was changing, it was tough to keep up. I definitely feel that to some extent. But now that things have sort of leveled off a little bit, I think for Renegades, it's about figuring out what is this team's identity? What is our style? and how do we start to just like pick a path and start to follow it and getting good at that style?
Well, I guess now we can find out if they've at least found one of the paths to go down. They've been questioning it themselves, but we do have Powtech standing by, ready for an interview to see how the Renegades are feeling as they're going to come up against a behemoth in NIP.
The Renegades, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
We've been talking about a lot of random things in here. I gotta say, there's a little bit of a smirk going on, a little bit of laughing. I feel like I'm in high school, and there's a joke going on, and I'm the teacher. I don't know what's up. What's the vibe in here? What are you guys thinking heading into this set?
We're just trying to have fun these days. I mean, it's the end of season. We're really trying to work on some of our little things here and there. But I mean, everyone's just trying to maintain a positive attitude in the situation.
And that's important. I mean, what are those little things? I mean, if you can give us an example of some of the stuff you've noticed that you're trying to improve on actively today.
We swapped up drafting styles. We swapped up who's drafting. I mean, we swapped up some people's play styles a little bit here and there, just to see what works better.
How do you feel about watching that last set a little bit? Do you feel that, point tanks, aggro tanks, do you feel like there's been a big shift as far as where you need to prioritize, banning some DPS out instead of banning some of the main aggro tanks? What are your thoughts on that in the general meta?
I mean, it's basically dependent on who the team is. Some teams like banning multiple tanks. Some teams like picking up multiple tanks. It's all dependent on teams. It's not really sort of like a meta anymore. It's more of what teams want to do.
All right, well, that's going to be it for us today. Hopefully you guys have a good game, and it should be an exciting set. Let's send it back to the desk. Get ready to talk to NIP.
It sounds like they've been able to sort some things out. They've been making those changes. And again, across 10 weeks, I like it because they've made little tweaks every week to be like, okay, maybe this was going wrong. That didn't work. Maybe this was going wrong. That didn't work. And like coming into that, that's kind of how you have to view it at this point, is just like, we aren't at this point, I don't think, capable of getting to MSI. We aren't capable of bringing ourselves out of this rut. So we have to look towards the next split. We have to look at what we can do in the future. And admittedly, when you're going up against someone like NIP, you kind of have to draw the line as well. We're just going to test some things and see how it works.
And what Powtech said resonates a little bit when you're thinking about banning and picking has to vary a little bit from team to team. The thing about NIP is like you almost don't know what they're picking week to week. It can be a team that's so difficult to read. I will say they've been on break a little bit. They kind of just got back this week. They haven't played. They had a couple of bye weeks. And since they've been gone, pardon the pun, but things have sort of settled down a little bit. It's not quite as volatile, I feel, as when they were sort of driving that horse in terms of what's being picked up, what's winning, what's losing.
Well, there you can see on your screen Bonker right there. And it's funny because I think every time we've talked to NIP, and the same thing with Na'Vi, I feel like a lot of the top teams will meme their point tank because they're just like, I mean, you have two champions. Essentially, like you're playing Anara, you're playing Barrick, and then maybe if we draft oddly, and this is mainly for NIP, you might be playing the Khan or the Alice, depending on who it is. But Diggy so far has been the Alice for this team. And I think that's exactly what we're going to see. I mean, most of what Bonker does is apply a lot of pressure. And he's kind of like the center of the storm, I want to say, for NIP. Like, there's so much chaos coming that's caused by his teammates that he's just kind of like, okay, cool. I'm going to sit on the point, but I'm going to throw in just as much damage, if not more damage sometimes.
Yeah. One of the things that I've enjoyed watching is that it doesn't necessarily feel like every player has their own identity on NIP. It really does feel like they're each a cog in the machine that makes this thing tick and makes this thing just dominate the Premier League, because they all attack together. They all are a part of the plan. It's really not like one guy or two people. A lot of times it's really three, and that's what I'm talking about, man. They're always side by side, even to Bittner's surprise sometimes. His front line specifically have really just left it all on the field, and a lot of times it just works. I mean, a lot you say you got these hyper committal plays from NIP, but they're all committing together. We don't know if it's a bad strategy or if it's a good strategy, because it's always worked for them, because nobody's ever hesitated, and it's one of their strengths, I think, for sure.
It's actually one of the things that has come up. I believe, I was talking to someone yesterday about it, where it's just one of the things NIP has going for them that is better than what we would see out of other teams is that in most scenarios, like, you have a shot caller, he's going to make the call, everyone's going to follow, but, like, there's that hesitation at first of, like, is that where I need to be right now? Like, is that what I want to go to? And I think NIP, there's just no hesitation. So that's what I heard. That's what's happening. That's how it's going to go down. And I think we can get a little bit more of an insight for that one. We have Bird standing by. Also one of the only teams without a coaches as it stands, but he's ready for interview right now.
No. All right, well, we're ready here. We've just been joking around. NIP, just like Renegades, seem to be having a good time in the booth, not too serious. You know, what's the atmosphere, what's the mentality going into this game?
We're just here to have fun. Yeah. That's always how it is.
It seems like that's been the case. It seems like it's been a driving factor of not only the play style, but the friendships, the ideas, the community around NIP. You guys are kind of isolated away from the rest of the league right now. Do you feel that it's more than just what you're doing in-game that's actually keeping you guys ahead?
I mean, there's something about the Staybridge Hotel over here. It's really helped us out.
The Wi-Fi is crazy there.
Oh, it's not bad at all.
I'm telling you, unbelievable, guys. You got to say. Last but not least, I want to talk about just this matchup. Obviously, it could be kind of easy knowing you're going against the last place team, taking your foot off the gas, being a little bit like, you know, we don't have to work too hard. Is that how you're approaching this game, like relaxed, or are you still, hey, man, this is like a championship game. We got to win 4-0 like any other series?
I mean, it's both. I mean, the preparation that goes into it is very much this is still a game. We still have to win it. Every game helps our score even more, but it's still important no matter who we're playing against, whether it's Renegades, Na'Vi, MV, it doesn't matter. We still want to go in kind of relaxed, It's no big deal.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys do that in your play. Good luck today, and we'll send it back to the desk to get this set started.
I think one of the things I also kind of clicked listening to Bird talk about it is just they don't really fear loss. Like, they don't fear losing a map. They don't fear losing a set. They're just kind of like, as long as we come out of it, either we learned something or we had fun playing, like we enjoyed ourselves, and like we continue, I guess at this point, this streak of excellence that we've been on.
I mean, when you look at the squad, you see Bird and Bonker and Diggy Dog from last split before Worlds, honestly being a middle-of-the-road team, really. Tenor was the big question mark for me. Alex comes from Mouse Sports. He doesn't know what it means to win. Tenor was the guy who comes from this 8-0 Fnatic team who I've never really questioned Tenor's ego or anything like that. I think he's always had a pretty good head on his shoulders about the game and about winning and losing. But he was, again, the big question mark, and I think he's done a pretty good job. It feels like he's kind of matured a good bit. He's back to those winning ways, but it's sort of like in stride, right? He's not talking a lot of smoke about it. He's not really gassing himself up or his team. He's just having a lot of fun, playing a bunch of different stuff, and I think the most exciting part about his season to him is just how many different champions he's been able to play and be successful with throughout the season.
And I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, when you look at past performances, this isn't a team.
They know how to lose.
They know how to lose, but they weren't
They're not very good
successful.
at it, but they know how to lose. This season, they've been terrible at losing.
But I completely lost my train of thought. I mean, they are terrible at losing. That's just where they stand right now. And it does come down to, they picked up nothing out of the ordinary. It's not the people who you would have put in, if you were making a tier list of players. We got the S++ or the SS or whatever you want to call them. We didn't get the best of the best. We just grabbed the guys that were here.
That's exactly it. Alex, he comes from winning absolutely nothing. Why in the hell would you ever want to go look? I think it's just this is a dude that grinds. They probably liked his mentality. You get along with him. He's just happy to be a part of the team and be a part of that machine, right? It's not trying to stand out, play hero Paladins. It's really trying to play team Paladins. That's what it is. NIP are just the best team right now. They play so well together. And something that Diggy said was that they just play a lot of the game, man. They just grind and grind and grind and grind, and they enjoy doing it. And that's a huge part of it. Back in the day, when Sheepa and Peridot played with these guys, they were incredible players, but they played a lot of other stuff too. They had their moments. Bugsy had his moments where he got demotivated and didn't want to play as much. Those are the moments where you slow down. That's letting your foot off the gas, and that's when the pack starts to catch you. If NIP legitimately just enjoy playing the game 12 hours a day, and they continue to do so like this, it is going to be very hard to slow them down at any point.
I mean, and you're looking at this normally. You rewind a year, we're looking at an undefeated Fnatic, and we're thinking, man, they're 8-0. Let's see how they go on LAN. This is on LAN. This is 9-0 on LAN, and the only tournaments they go to are still on LAN. MSI, it's still going to be LAN. They don't have a huge swap that's happening for NIP here. So that's the thing I think that makes them even scarier is when you're looking forward for this team, you're just cool, don't worry, we'll get them at the LAN tournament. It's all LAN for them. They know this in and out. They've sat more time in that booth than they do at their hotel room.
Serpent Beach is the map. Barrack made Fernando versus Genos, Ashe, Eevee, Cassie so far. And for me, grabbing the Fernando with Inara still available, with Genos already picked up is deliberate. I'm not going to say it's good or bad just yet. I'm saying this is very deliberate. The Renegades are aware of what they're doing. They want Fernando in this situation.
Yeah, and they're going to be going for what looks like a Moldava Tyra, being able to get a little damage amp, and on top of the fact that Maeve already kind of amps her own damage, you're looking at potential slaughter, and of course Maeve and Eevee are probably the two flanks on this map, since Buck is not in the meta, that are probably the most fun and also the most squirrely. They're so difficult to lock down and difficult to kind of keep track of that I expect we might see something kind of similar to what we saw last set with the 1v1s. I just don't know if it's going to be as elongated. I feel like the fight will finish a little faster.
Well, Hovering Damba and Tyra at the moment having some source of damage amp will certainly be good. We talk a lot about how, Tyra marking up people for Eevee to get after. I think the same can apply to Maeve in a lot of instances.
Rushing. And the hunt.
A lot of shielding on this
on.
Renegade squad, though. I'd be a little bit concerned. Once Wrecker gets online, their staying power feels like it will suffer. I mean, you're looking at Bowling Ball, Barricade, Fernando Shield. That stuff is just going to get ripped to pieces by Cassie very quickly.
I mean, after an incredibly in-depth discussion, like looking at patch changes, things that have shifted, the way NIP will play anything, they just kind of get comfort picks all the way down, right? I mean, Genos, Ashe, Eevee, Cassie. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Nara for Bonker, but it really could be any frontline they want that's still available. 4 of them being banned out means you don't have as many to pick from, but
probably
there's nothing crazy, nothing flexed. Like, it's just kind of like, cool, we're just going to do what we've been doing.
And they're going to look to win the game off of not necessarily needing the Inara, but having the Luminary and having that 3-man death squad that we'd like to talk about with NIP, with the aggro tank Diggy Dog being followed up by the flankers. They're going to go for solo frontline, pedal to the meta. We expected a couple of non-standard compositions, and this is about as much aggression as you can draft.
The minute I threw it to you after saying Genos, Eevee, Cassie, I was like, oh, this is NIP. They're going to look for a triple DPS. Like, they're one of the few teams I've heard who will constantly mention that. Like, all the time, they'll be like, you know what? This is good for a triple frontline. This is good for triple DPS. This is good for a standard. Like, they will just make that decision in the heat of the moment, and it seems like they did right here. They grabbed the Vivian, which last time, I believe, was on, like, an Annihilation.
Alex, yeah.
Like, it did incredibly well.
It got the Annihilation.
So we're going to be looking forward to maybe seeing a repeat of that one. But to get this started, to get things rolling for Serpent Beach, we're going to go down to Dave and Evan.
Thank you, guys. Dolson and Rende still hanging out, but we're on the cast this time. More Evan time is always good.
Always
in my
good.
eyes. We got NIP, we got Renegades here for our second set of the day. Many would probably consider it a one-sided affair, more so because of how well NIP are playing, I think, and they're going to start off as high speed as you can with a triple DPS, Evan.
And a Genos backing them up. So not only the damage, they'll have damage amp for their 3 damage dealers. And the Ashe as well, pretty aggressive.
Too much damage.
It's just going to be an overwhelming thing. But I will say, Invokal has been really, really strong on his Maeve, on this map in particular. It's going to be tough for Moonchopper to really hold that shield up. There's just so much shield break on this team. They're going to hit so hard. I have a little bit of a worry thinking about Fernando going against these.
And especially Vivian being the third DPS. It's actually Bittner this time. Of course, Alex was the one with the notable 30-plus kill game Vivian. But look at that, just shreds the shields.
Oh, no.
Forces the Barrack just to run away. Hero cannot step out here right now. The battle is still going out on the high ground.
And
but
first,
so much damage.
First reload, by the way. Oh, what a stun! Viral!
Wow.
Almost popping off there. Alex almost assuredly had the kill. Don't even try to touch that middle point. I mean, holy moly, the damage that is being done. Bird finds a big kill into Invokal. And Viral again. Does he have the stun ready?
They needed to do that. They needed to turn these kills around because for a moment, Renegades had the momentum in that fight. They had the 4v5, but the 3-man wrecking crew runs down the rest of Blue. And NIP, they win this first engagement after losing 1.
And Diggy gets to play DPS. This is something he's been waiting to do all season, you would imagine. The man's switched to aggressive off-tank, and it's worked so well for him. Yeah. What a great one to get back into familiarity and also be able to do so much damage.
I mean, what do you, we normally, if we see a triple DPS, it's usually matched up with a triple frontline on the opposite side. How do you deal with this triple DPS if you're the Renegades?
Well, you have to use your strengths. You have to get on that point. I know it's very hard, but somehow you have to force the Vivian away, and that's what Invokal's job was. He couldn't quite do it, and Tinner just won a duel between Barrack and Maeve. You can't allow Vivian to do that. So you got to get her off that high ground. Once she does, you have control over the point, and that's what they're trying to utilize to their best of their ability.
This is tough. I mean, one kill goes in the favor of a high-powered offensive comp, and the rest of the kills are soon to follow. Diggy Dog popping off a little bit on the Cassie right now. Not something I thought I was going to say this week, but it's happening nonetheless. Destiny still arrives. In this case, his name is Diggy Dog on the Cassie. Point number 1 over to NIP.
A little surprised that Diggy actually has opted to go away from the traditional kind of big game that we see so successful. He's hitting for a lot, so maybe that's one of his reasoning items. But I think more importantly, he's going to have a lot of pressure onto the Tyra as well. It's not just going to be for these front lines. He's going to have a lot of all-around damage in that AoE. And as a tank kind of favored composition, he was maybe expecting a little bit more clumping up that's been happening.
And this is tough. I just saw in Vocal, you can't poke your head around the corner, especially in a weird way, the way the rest of the offensive pressure is opening up space for Bittner just to hang back, and especially with the Sentinels on his side as well.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone on Renegade shows their face to a free-firing Vivian is going to have a sad time. Moonchopper finally gets cleaned up after prolonging the engagement just a little bit. And Vocal's just trying to plug away some damage, but kills are rolling. 1, 2, 3 now for Diggy Dog. The Cassie is huge, 9-0-4. 3 minutes into the game. Diggy Dog's having himself a day already.
Somebody did say in Mixed Chat that this might be the fastest set in PPL history. And he's so far on point.
He's
so far not wrong.
We're on pace.
We're on pace. Let's put it that way.
We're on pace. I mean,
a lot of time still left.
This team seemingly can just do no wrong in that a lot of people would scratch their heads at putting sort of their hybrid frontliner onto a Cassie. But Diggy Dog, a Quadra to round out this round. 4 for the Cassie. They can't, like I said, they just can't do any wrong seemingly at the moment. Cassie, Eevee, Vivian, those are your top 3 damage dealers. Renegades, they just can't keep up.
Only 2 deaths, and the hardest task in this triple DPS lineup is definitely Bonkers. Min-maxing the ability to play on an Ashe as a solo front line, not even like an Inara, which is a pretty simple task. Bonker has to be slightly aggressive, push when needed, and save that ult for the perfect time. And Vocal already so low, and talk about the perfect time. This should take him down, except it's the Immortal from Fernando. Diggy waits just a second, and he finds the kill.
That's tough. They stacked so many ultimates. Immortal, Midnight, Dread Serpent, all come out from Renegades. That's the time to attack, but instead, NIP, they weather the storm, find the offensive pressure on their own yet again. All the kills coming up red in this case. They're back on the point. And we're talking about sort of that solo frontline pressure. They were fighting that entire time while Bonker was on the point, and they already have 84%.
Well, that's what's great about the Eevee, too. She can create a front line for you because she forces people back. And that's what a front line usually does. Because she can blink in and get behind you so quickly to your support, you have to fall back to protect them. And that is the same essence of what Bonker would do on a shoulder bash with Ashe. She is essentially serving as a pseudo backline, pseudo frontline, and both of them are playing that interesting role. Both of them are the ones who have deaths. Look, they're the both who died now.
That's in Vocal coming up big. That's where your eyes sort of went, my eyes as well to start off this one. He's the guy who needs to come up big, find some executes, find the damage. And that's what Maeve does. I mean, just turn some heads, because if NIP are able just to sit back and free fire, especially with the composition they've built, Renegades are not going to last very long. And Vocal getting just a little too aggressive. Alex blinks in for the kill here. Just fighting to get back onto the payload right now. Use the Ice Storm. No ultimates ready for NIP. A couple up on the side of Renegades.
Yeah.
Kills still coming up red, though.
And you know what? Honestly, Viral's just getting bullied here as well. I mean, he hits a great stun, and that's about all he could have done to stop the onslaught. But the problem is, just 3 seconds later, Eevee's coming right back. And meanwhile, Tenor, you know, just an unsolvable problem. You've already dealt with too much in Bonker, in Alex, in Diggy, and now you've got Tenor to worry about. So many people discount the value of really the Sentry, allowing her to just find out where people are coming from, to shut off one angle of approach and no, I got to focus my damage here, knowing I'm safe on the left-hand side. Nice shield there.
Like butter. Right through the Barrack shield goes Bittner shots. Right through Moonchopper's Fernando shields goes the Vivian. And NIP, they're pushing to maybe end the game here. Midnight's going to buy a little bit of space, but yet again, Alex and Bittner are going to say, not today. They're going to find the kills. Renegades are down to 3 on this defense. Make it 2. Good stun from Viral. A bit of a fadeaway there. Bird finds one with the through time and space. This is going to go through. And NIP, they're not wasting any time today.
Weren't quite sure how that was going to happen.
Did you blink, Evan?
Actually didn't blink that entire last few seconds. It was too fast. I tried.
Was too fast.
I tried, but they beat me to it.
I mean, that's got to be tough. I mean, if you're coming in for the Renegades, of course, you're knowing you're going against the strongest team in the league, but you can see there not too much communication. But as fast and as convincing as that is for NIP, that's a tough bounce back.
You ever lost your train of thought in the middle of a public kind of theater production or a speech, or you ever lost the word?
No, I'm
okay.
I'm
it's
perfect
kind of like
in every way.
It's everyone's worst nightmare, right? I get up on stage in front of all these people and I forget what I have to say.
Right.
It's like Renegade's worst nightmare, really, and the fact that they're like, oh, God, this is happening. This is what we thought. We just got owned in 7 minutes. We are going to be embarrassed today.
Yeah.
You would have hoped to come out with a little bit of fight, but that wasn't it.
Well, you got 3 games to turn it around now. NIP with a Game 1 victory in under 10 minutes. Let's send it back to the desk.
I think what Dave said is probably the nicer way of what I was going to say. Is hot knife through butter versus what I had said when we were watching that, which was lambs to the slaughter.
I'm perfect in every way.
Oh, well, no, that one, I mean, that's true. Dave is
that also
perfect
applies
in
to
every way.
Gormizer.
Not quite.
And humble, too? I mean, come on, folks. How can you not love this guy?
The man's got it all.
You know, healing numbers are not a big part of it. I think NIP with all that damage amp and all those DPSers, 2 amp, but 12-0, kind of stealing the show. Diggy Dog on the Cassie, the least commonly seen player on the DPS for NIP, really kind of takes it to the Renegades.
It's like that moment where he wants to remind everyone that, by the way, I'm actually flexing onto the off tank. Like, that's not the role that I grew up on. That's not where Kanga had me. That's not where I was the first time I joined NIP. That's just where I happen to end up, and showcasing exactly what he can do. I think we've seen him do it a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago on Bomb King, and this time doing it with the Cassie, which admittedly I don't think I've seen Diggy play Cassie in a long time.
Yeah, he was brought onto the scene as a DPS player, and I think brought onto an already very winning Kanga roster because he was extremely good mechanically. And there's really no other way around it. Bonker holds it down as the solo frontline Ashe, but he's really not there to he's there to like be the first one into that mosh pit, right? He has the most health. He's got a really, really good ultimate to engage with. He's there to get it started. He is there to light that match, and then the boys are going to fan the flames from behind.
And you know, the interesting thing about this is because if you look at that, like, Ashe kind of fills this bruiser role, and admittedly with the way they're playing it, and just based on the loadout I've seen Bird running, probably has the max distance that he can apply that Astral Mark. They're playing quad DPS in a way. Like, they're just Bird stand on the point, and then we're never going to be out of range of your Astral Mark. Like, you're always going to be able to apply Luminary.
Well, I think there was some merit to the Renegades draft up until the point, you know,
where they played it.
They have they have Maldamba, they have this Fernando, they have this Barrack, and I was talking about they have a lot of shielding, right? They're going to be pretty susceptible to that. And if looking at the rest of that NIP draft from a very traditional lens, you have to say, like, all right, they're probably going to go to Nara here, and yeah, they're going to be susceptible to Reckon, but they got to get it online. And then they just pick Vivian. It's like, well, I mean, damn. This kind of changes everything. They're going to have the firepower to get through these shields, and they play so damn fast. That's been the theme kind of all season.
Yeah.
But they're at this point so comfortable in the chaos that they're going to not only succeed there because it's where they're most comfortable, but they're making you uncomfortable. So it's kind of a war fought on 2 fronts, if you will.
You had mentioned, I mean, just looking at the fact that NIP are willing to pick literally anything and everything. Like, whatever fits the scenario, they will pick it and then figure out who's playing what. Like, they don't have to stress about, oh man, we only have 2 front lines. Like, we have to pick a front line here. Like, they want triple DPS, they can run triple DPS. They want to run triple front line, they can run triple front line. And I think that, like, yeah, you had said this while we were watching, where it's just like, they are just good at everything. When it comes to playing Paladins and when it comes to drafting in Paladins, they are just really, really good. There's nothing special. It's not what they had for breakfast. It's just 5 really good players that happen to be on a team together.
It's such a tough game to really be good on all fronts because you have to be good at this strategy, this drafting, this planning, this reacting. And then you have to load in a game and be good at the FPS portion of this game. And then you have to be thinking about other teams' loadouts, what they're picking, and throw a little bit of that MOBA spice on the top of it. It's just it's a hard game to master. But NIP, they've got a MOBA coach drafter brain
Stay
in
close
Bird
and
here.
follow
He
my
coached
lead.
one of our old Smite teams to the World Championship Finals. You've got really star-studded FPS talent in Tenor and Alex. And then I think you have really good hybrid guys that do a lot of everything. Bonker and Diggy Dog have been around for so long, succeeding in a lot of different capacities. But I love the way, just to zone back in on this draft, the way they set this up with just the one Kinessa ban. We know what Tenor Strix has been able to do on Frog Isle, man.
Yes,
it's
we
been
do.
thoroughly disgusting. But I would say they do end up with it this time, but it's not guaranteed. I think they set this draft up to make you start to think about it, and it worked. I mean, I started to think about Strix. The second they banned this Kinessa, I'm already like, okay, wait, where's Strix going? Who's going to get Eevee? Who's going to be able to counter this? How is this going to happen? I do like this double flank from the Renegades. It's not traditional, but screw it. I don't think you're going to be able to beat NIP with traditional.
True, and it's actually one of those things. Eevee, it's not outlandish to hear any Eevee on Frog Isle. Mave on Frog Isle, not something that we get to see too often. And this is actually one of those areas where I was going to say we've seen in the past and actually have mentioned in the past. I talked about it earlier. Fuselage Drogo is really good against flanks, but it's not going to come through. And instead, this time, NIP go for the Fernando, and you have Cassie lining it up. So they are going back to, I guess, like the double one with the front lines, that's damage, and then the support. But they still have a lot of damage coming between Cassie, Strix, and a Luminary boost.
Definitely. One of the things
Purify.
is how will Furia be able to keep up, sustaining these flankers? I think Maeve and Eevee have a decent amount of self-sustain on their own, so hopefully the Renegades can stand on that leg for a little while. What I do like about NIP's draft is everything except Fernando. Not that I dislike it, but it's just that is not going to be their win condition. That's going to be just good enough. That's, I think, when they pair with Genos, they talk about this a lot. I think NIP really abhorred having Inara and Genos on the same composition. It really feels like they want to use this formidable sustain. We don't really talk about that talent too much, but that's the only thing Fernando plays is formidable. It's just sustain when you fall below a certain HP threshold. That heals you for a bunch until you get back to that HP threshold. So it really helps when you have like this kind of low throughput hot on you from Genos. Once that formidable triggers, you're kind of good to go, and you're just trying to stay alive and bruise around, which we know Bonker does such a good job of.
He just teeters between life and death the exact way they want him. NIP always staying alive throughout those fights, but it is going to be Frog Isle, and it is going to be Dave and Evan taking this one down as NIP grab their...
It's gonna be me.
You might been hurt, babe. It ain't no lie, Yo, that was actually kind of popping off for a second,
That was wild, dude.
I didn't know you could
beatbox
beatbox like that,
last time we did
Aladdin?
Yeah.
I actually did. That was a nice beat, bro.
Listen.
I started feeling that. I was like, if I knew the words, I would have kept singing.
I mean,
I just don't know the part
it's a
after.
hidden talent.
Yeah.
It's a hidden talent. The skill shot talent show, you know what I'm bringing to the stage.
The beatbox, damn. I would not have expected it, Dave.
I am a little nervous for Renegades on this map. One, because Bittner has his Strix. Two, because Frog Isle can be very snowbally if one team jumps out to an early lead.
Missed again.
I mean, as I say it, I should just...
Caster's Curse. He's usually hitting all of those. He's got to warm up. We'll just see. Maybe, snipers, you have to sometimes have your day on a sniper.
That's true.
And then if you don't, you got to warm up into it. So seemingly not as lethal as we've seen him be before. And that has resulted in the Renegades having a firm 51% and no one dead, no one even low. So he's got to start applying some pressure right now. He even misses the hip fire onto the shield. This is unusual.
Shadow's
He's
actually
gonna go
the
down
one who
here.
ends up finding first blood. Hero finds the time to get aggressive, and it results in Bittner heading back to base after some missed shots to start things off. Pretty uncharacteristic for the young tenor. Moonchopper adds a third. Shadow with his second in this round as well. Hero just dancing around this point. Fernando trying to stay alive. Bonker, unfortunately, back to base he goes, and Renegades are fighting while they have 99% overtime in their favor. That's going to result in not only point number one of the map, but just point number one of the day here for Renegades. So showing some early fight is the team in red.
You know what? This is impressive from Renegades. And again, sticking with a composition that maybe didn't quite help them out earlier on with the Maeve and kind of prioritizing that. But the Barrack and Hero, it's been nice. I've liked it a lot. He's hit up some big plays. I always talk about, when someone like a frontline can go in there and get a backline either DPS threat or healer, and he does it again.
Wow.
Hero finds a big kill, and I like how he's taken the fight to Tenor. Renegades punching back here.
Yeah, that's the silver lining, I think, in that fight. The End Flame was used for Renegades, and then they end up getting swept anyway. NIP 4 ultimates, almost 5 ultimates strong on this defensive stand here. This could get dangerous the further NIP are able to push up. We've seen this a few times on Frog Isle where the defending team essentially plants themselves in the base of the attackers, and they just don't really have much time to get out, get back to the payload. Still 1 minute and 20 seconds. The kills getting traded back and forth here.
I love it.
Good stun.
Just running at him, no fear. That's what you need, man. You cannot play against NIP with fear. This is a map that could go the way of Renegades if they keep this up. NIP have not solved it. They do not have answers right now. We've seen Tenor miss a couple of shots, and maybe it's just because the calls are different. Maybe it's because the pressure's different. But Hero, my God, playing like a hero on the barrack, just running at people. That little dwarf ain't scared of nobody.
We didn't really even mention it. The double flanks technically here for the Renegades, Maeve and Eevee. That's going to make life really tough for Bittner. Not really a lot of stationary targets for him to get onto, other than Ashe and Barrack, of course, but the damage dealers are going to be nice and mobile. As I say it, though, yet again, I flip things around. Bittner finds Invocal Moonchopper, trading one out onto Bonker. Bittner's just free-firing from the back line here. Some of these shots start to plug away with 30 seconds left here. This could be a good defense for NIP. At the moment, though, the payload's moving forward.
Yeah.
Flame's going to move forward, not going to connect for Furia in this case. Ooh, good shot right out of the air there from Tenor. Both teams playing slowly right now, realizing that one kill could be enough to flip this game around.
And although Eevee sometimes isn't, look at this. Look at Hero.
Yeah,
look at Hero.
running in.
Get your brand, big boy. I like it. I like it. Throw that dome shield down. Bonker throws the shield up as well. Tenor under pressure again. 560 from the rocket, the blunderbuss, so to speak, of the young dwarf. 5 streak for him, and it looks like it's going to go to 6. Looks like it's going to go to 7. Renegades got a 2-0 here, Dave. It seems very, very likely.
Wow. And that is just calculated, timed team fighting from the Renegades.
Pop off.
The NIP are like, they're a siren. They're sitting in the back, lulling Renegades in with a song. But at the end of the day, they're only lulling each other to sleep because at the right moment, they flip that switch. Furia kicks the end flame, excuse me, into effect.
Yeah.
And then Hero just runs right on through the lineup of NIP, and that's all they needed. NIP, they're the team on the back foot here, and that's not what I expected to say starting off this map.
Shadow was not even existent on the Tyra last game. Now having a big impact, and you mentioned the double flanker. This is a unique approach. It is not common at all. I mean, it's actually, I'm not sure if it's been done all season.
Think so. We're talking groundbreaking.
This is truly groundbreaking. And I know Barrack, you know, could go on intermittent fasting and be okay. This is not a joke about his weight, okay? He's a finely sized man, okay? So the ground that's breaking is not underneath him. It's as a result of the pressure that's put on Tenor. I mean, it's an uncharacteristic. That's like not even. That's an understatement to a very big degree. How many kills does Tenor have? I mean, it's got to be. I mean, 5, but we're used to him getting
that's a quiet
9-0. It's a quiet 5, and a lot of them are on defense. Suddenly, though, NIP starting to get their rhythm. Big headshot.
This is where it could get scary if you're on the opposite side of the Renegades. When NIP are able to lull you in, and then the damage from the longer range champions that they have comes through, that's where NIP are going to win these fights. They do just that. Of course, fast cap, giving them 4 points a tick, helps in their favor this time. Now they'll get to try their hand at offense. This is sort of, I guess, Frog Isle tends to be one way or the other. Either one team kind of steamrolls out to a 4-0, or these caps kind of go back and forth. NIP, though, they're the aggressors on this side of things. Diggy Dog's trying to limit Hero's effect on this fight. Midnight's going to come through. That's going to help Shadow find one in this fight. But, oh, Diggy Dog, he gets caught out by the Ice Storm. Moonchopper is going to be the beneficiary of that. And Invocal on the Maeve, he's had a good game so far. That's a sweep here for Renegades.
This is what I think, looking at this moment, Virtus Pro need to learn. This is what a lot of other teams need to learn. Just wipe. Like we saw Virtus Pro in the last map on Ascension Peak and things like that. They would take 10, 20 seconds out of their push opportunity to just wipe slowly. NIP realized they lost the fight. They lost the one crucial member. They lost their hero. Okay, let's all reset. And then they push his 5. It's very intelligent, but still we're seeing some resistance.
Damage.
We're seeing some strong resistance, man, from Renegades. And, I mean, this could be a 3-1 if they keep this up.
No, this is good. I mean, if nothing else, they're showing that it's not going to be the fastest set. At least this map is not going to be the fastest map in PPL history. It's easy to, you know, take your lump and then just kind of roll over, realizing what type of day it's going to be. But Renegades are not doing that right now. They come out fast on Frog Isle. NIP have sort of found the answers to a lot of what Renegades are bringing, at least on that mid fight.
Yeah.
Diggy Dog's getting poked out here. And this is where Tenor needs to come up big from these back lines. You have 2 flanks, so they don't have the range to really counter you. They have the dive, but if you're able to sit back and free fire, you need to hit your shots. That's an early dome shield here, and the end flame comes through. Renegades are going to get aggressive.
I mean, you know what? I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I am loving it. Hashtag ad. McDonald's, okay, go grab some. But I'm seriously have no other way to describe it. Hero is playing 10 feet taller than he is. And that is a huge statement. He's always been a player that I've tried to commend as much as possible, but he's taken this role to a big level, and the level of just, I don't care who you are. Bonker, Diggy Dog, you're just Khan, I'm Barrack, and I got Inflames, I got buffed, I got good damage. Renegades are going to go up 3-1 here, Dave.
Wow.
And it is in large part, I think, to their aggressiveness
and
their willingness to challenge an IP, despite all the results saying you shouldn't be able to.
Agreed. They have that as bulletin board material. They see, all right, 4-0, easy 4-0 for NIP. They tack that up on the wall for a little bit of extra motivation. And it's so, I mean, I say funny, but it's also awesome to watch these team fights because you can tell there's a distinct moment in their comms. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that room where somebody, whoever the shot caller in game is, sees an opening and they say, okay, go. End flame comes through. Dome shield comes out as well. And then the rest of Renegades just run right down mid of the NIP lineup. And they haven't been able to find an answer for it. It seems like the slower, more drawn-out fights are where NIP are flourishing right now. But when you can flip that switch for Renegades and find the aggression, when you bring the aggression, they're winning these.
I mean, who goes into the who wins the aggression, pressure, pace war against NIP? No one this season has done that. And Renegades are saying this is what you need to do to challenge them. Shadow finds a big kill on the Diggy. Hero goes down here, but he's doing good damage to Bonker. One more shot and he's low, and now he's got to be defensive. That was a great example of how offense can turn into defense, but it's too little too late. He doesn't have a bailout card. They're going to back off here, though. 23% now, accounting for NIP.
And that was sort of like almost a half team fight there for the Renegades, not having all the essential pieces to their very aggressive team fight. The assert dominance came through, a couple kills.
Overpower.
But NIP were able to sit back, absorb the damage, and return the damage even onto Renegades, and that puts them on the point here. Of course, the fast cap again in their favor. It's going to be 3-2. Renegades need to find a defense here. No game to win for the boys in red, but a game to tie potentially for NIP.
And that's the thing. Against NIP, you're going to have to play perfectly, and they don't. They have good ideas, but they don't execute that same way. Waiting for maybe some EV blinks. Obviously looking at Tenor starting to heat up way more than he did in the first couple rounds. And we said sometimes it takes a second to get going. He definitely took that second. Big headshot and dodges.
Oh, wow.
The Pyre strike. Beautiful stuff.
They can't really fight into it right now. They're just relying on Tenor to find some plug shots, and then maybe when the fight comes to them, they're going to answer back. Bonker has to be careful here. If he goes down, this could be an easy defense. Of course, still 1 minute and 40 seconds left, so the Renegades could find the defense. But if the kills start coming up for NIP here, this could get dangerous. Hero answers back. That's a crucial kill. Getting rid of Bonker. That's going to be the guy who is standing right around that payload, keeping it moving forward. Alex plugging away some shots on the Cassie here. Through time and space. Not good for any kills.
Well, this has become a brawl, and I think I think the de-evolution of the clarity of this fight is what's actually almost helped NIP in their raw just experience and talent. I feel like Renegades had a little bit of a clearer way they were aggressing, and now it feels like, man, we're just, you know, ults and aggression and stuff like that. And I think, yes, it can work, but look at the payload has moved so much more effectively this round. Bonker seeing, can I make it out? No, there's no way. I'll just not waste time.
There's still a minute, though.
Get back with my team. But this gives the flanks a lot of time to go and dismount, poke.
Yep.
find opportunities. Just can't get caught by a good void grip here from Bird.
It's important here if the Renegades are going to stand on this defense not to use too much, because we've seen
that's a big back off.
Their ability to win team fights has been based on the Enflame coming through into stacking ultimates from the rest of the team, calculated aggression from everyone. So if they're able to win this defense with just a few picks, that bodes much better for the ensuing point fight. And also realizing, all right, if this goes through, we're still in this game. Regardless, you're going to have to win on the next point fight. So it's determining. There's the Enflame, though. They're going to use it in this round. The kills are going to start to come through, and Vocal hitting some beautiful shots. Only 1 kill results. But with 9 seconds left, NIP, they got some distance to make up.
Do they really not know Bonkers right there? I mean, they don't know he's behind the wall. Oh, they do. He's dropped down now, and that should result in the defense. They are willing to sacrifice this Enflame. If you are unfamiliar with Furia, this ult used to charge while the ult was happening. So you would do so much damage because of your damage amp. And the way ults work is every character has a basically percentage. That is their ultimate charge rate. And every bit of damage you do, or healing if you're a healer as well, times that percentage ends up getting how fast you charge your ult again. So she would just get this damage boost. The ult would be back in like a few seconds. Now it doesn't, but still 26%. They had just used it to close out this one. It is going to be up pretty soon. It's still got a lot of legacy advantages there. And this is another chance for Renegades to close the game out.
Yeah, and IP, I mean, they've been staunch on the defense, but that Enflame has been where they've seen sort of that go button. Once the Enflame comes through, that's when Renegades find themselves the aggression. Midnight in this case is going to try to get things started. This is big. They need some value out of this. Doesn't come through. Ice Storm from Invocal as well.
Missed overpower.
Things are starting to come up blue here. Remember, they can't win on this point fight, but Bittner starting to come huge on this Strix. Bonker finds one. The Immortal coming through just to save his life. But there's so many blue lives left, and only 1 left on the side of Renegades.
Oof, I think this is interesting. They pull back so far. I think there's maybe no other way to do it. You've got to let Shadow touch. That's the only way to get in here safely. The Blink Source coming through. He's just going to get shot. He might have. He did. So overtime is here. Can they get back? I think now it's up to Hero. He's got a Rocket Boots in. Rocket Boots out. Does he have the Dome Shield? He does. That's going down, and Vocal gets taken down, though. So I think that has become too much for them.
Yeah, it might put the brakes on this fight, especially now that Moonchopper is gone. Hero's going to be the next to go.
Nice
Bittner starting to hit some big shots. Looking at the streaks, though, as well. Oh, that's a beautiful one again to round out the team fight. 3-3. So now NIP are pushing to win, and Renegades need to hold this. And this would be tough for Renegades to lose after the way they started this one.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? This is, again, where NIP become just this team that you say, what do we have to do to beat these guys? There's something here. Whether Renegades win or not, there's something in this style, this pressure, this exactly what they do. I think a lot of times NIP are just, everyone appreciates them as the juggernauts and says, well, we'll try to deal with what they can bring to us.
Yeah.
No one's trying to bring that same thing to them, and I think this is
it's
a really good confidence boost, no matter how it goes, for the Renegades.
And that's where you have to latch onto. You have to look at this game. Again, like you said, even if it doesn't go your way, look at what worked.
Yeah.
You can't just say, well, they're a better team. You have to say, all right, this is what worked out. They still have a chance and a half to win this one. NIP, they're the ones with a chance in this round. Ooh, stuns him up just on the back side. Here's the Midnight Bonker. He's been the recipient of a lot of frontline damage in this one. Hasn't lasted long in many of these fights. In Vocal, the shots have been good from him this entire game as well. The NIP boys are going to take this as a note just to back off and regroup before attacking yet again. That's well done by them, realizing that a Midnight and a kill is enough to trade out just for a few more seconds.
Yeah.
1 minute and 5 seconds left here. NIP have 3 ultimates.
Watch out.
2.5 on the side of Renegades.
Missed.
This is where Bittner will need to plug away some shots.
Overpower missed again. That's 2 in a row from Diggy. That's unusual.
That could have opened the door as well. I mean, 1 overpower onto the right target, especially with the payload this close.
Absolutely.
That's smart play from Bittner, seeing the Pyre Strike coming through, misses the shot onto the blinking Shadow. Shadow's going to find a kill regardless. Diggy Dog is down. That's 1 from the Con. That's 2.
That's big from Shadow.
From the Eevee. That's big. With 30 seconds left, it's going to be NIP trying to regress yet again. realizing they're not going to win this fight 3v5. They still have 20 seconds left, but now the question becomes who gets in there and gets the touch. You don't have the same mobility that the Renegades do.
It's very interesting. They're really confident holding it this particular choke. They like this rock. It's really because of Tenor. I mean, Tenor is the line of sights are a little bit limited for him until he goes out into the open, and that's what they're trying to play around. But it is also putting them in a very precarious situation. That payload is real close. Bonker goes for the formidable kind of reset. Hopefully he doesn't have the shield in time after going into the ultimate. So this could be trouble for NIP. They're not going to push. And Bonker really hoped that maybe some of that passive would take off. He'd get the shield back up in time after he used the Immortal. But he couldn't.
That was huge value from the Ice Storm there from Shadow. Goes on to 2 targets, chunks out so much damage. And that sets it up perfectly for Moonchopper to get in, get the double kill in that case, and the fight was basically all downhill for NIP from that point. So now we come to a deciding 3-point final point.
Yeah.
Here on Frog Isle. Much better fight from Renegades in this one. I'll be curious to see which ultimates the teams decided to use at that last fight, because that's going to be pretty telling, I think. We've seen time and time again the first team to swing tends to dictate these fights.
Well, last time, what's interesting, Renegades used their Ice Storm, and it failed. It didn't get anybody, and that was a big problem. Tenor, last round, the first round, when we saw Renegades actually win the only point fight of theirs, Tenor missed. He was not effective for about 25 seconds in a row. And if they can do that, they will be fine. They're slowing the pace, but they cede the point. Hero needs to step back on there, but some pressure needs to be put onto Bonker. Right now, he's too healthy, and they're really feeling good about this. There's the shield. Got to burst him to half. He does, and now Shadow has some backline access. If they can pull Bittner off the point, now Hero can move in a little bit more uncontested.
You have to watch out for the Inflame. Once that comes through, there it is. That's a beautiful overpower. Get Shadow out of this fight. The Inflame did come through, and Vocal's able to answer back, but Alex, his shots are good right now. That's a 2-for-1 in favor of NIP right now. Diggy Dog's going to find the third, and it looks like Renegades are going to lose this one. They just get picked out. Finally, the overpower's good from Diggy, and that looks like it's going to be enough to win this point and win this game.
An absolutely monstrous gamble to overpower an Eevee on her blink in. But Diggy Dog guesses right. He wins big, and that's going to be NIP taking the game.
That is tough for Renegades. They come out hot, firing 2-0 to start off the game. NIP, they make their adjustments. They find a way to absorb the pressure. They end up winning the game, but as we said, that's what you got to look at if you're Renegades. You really have to latch on to what worked out well for you in that game. Honestly, that overpower saved everything in that one. I mean, if that overpower does not connect for a third, fourth time in that game, that fight could have gone the wrong direction. But NIP win it.
Because I think Shadow dictates what Moonchopper's doing there, and Shadow goes in to try to aggress. He gets caught, and then Moonchopper, following up, gets caught immediately after, and it just becomes a snowball they can't recover from. It's just unfortunate to see that happen. Great performance by Renegades, though, to make this very interesting.
Absolutely, it was interesting. Instead of a 7-minute game, we get a 15-plus minute game this time around. Let's send it back to the desk to break down Game 2.
I mean, I can't say it any better than him. It was 7 minutes on Serpent Beach. It was almost complete domination from an IP, and then that ended right about 20 minutes on Frog Isle. Like, 20 minutes on Frog Isle is already ridiculous, but the Renegades, everything was different. Like, that was just a different team that played in that last map.
Yeah, you know, they draft the double flank. They get a pretty aggressive frontliner there for Chopper. Hero's obviously comfortable on the barrack, but they come out of the gate swinging, and I think do a pretty good job of keeping a lid on Bittner initially. That's the heavy caveat there, was shutting him down. He also missed a couple of big shots the casters mentioned. You have those, you're missing with a sniper, right? It's really not much more complicated than that. But at the end of the day, Tenor starts to come online like he does. I really felt a sense of like pressure, you know, alleviated in the back line.
Yeah.
I never saw, you know, too many more of those heavy dives from the Renegades. I thought Chopper had some great ultimates into the back line. It's a good start, but just somewhat of a failure to finish for the Renegades.
Well, this is it. That was the moment where it was.
Oh no, he had the scout up.
He had the
I was
scout
gonna
up.
say, oh my God, if he hit that blind in the midnight, what a monster!
That was just that sequence of events worked out not only so well for NIP, but it was just like we grab the Eevee, we get rid of her. Alex put himself just in front of the hitbox range of Ash's dash so that Moonchopper couldn't get out. So it's just like, cool, we got a 2-for-1 right here, a 2-for-none as we get to move forward with it. And I think that's something they did so well there. But I'm actually going to give shout-outs to the other side. I think Hero, very early on, that was kind of the big difference. I think it kind of petered off as the game went on. He was playing out of his mind those first 2, even 3 rounds, and it just kind of started to slow down when NIP decided, you know what? He's the problem.
Hero did a really, really good job, handling Bonker on the objective. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That was the weakest point of NIP's draft. That's where they should have looked to put some pressure. Especially in that last team fight, you really started to feel the wrecker for Tenor. Just a blit. He was two-shotting the barricades, ripping apart the bowling ball shields. Hero's effectiveness just falls off because of items in the late game. There's only so much he can do against that. There's only so much he can hold on to on that point against the pressure from the sniper, who, admittedly, he just kind of free-fired there from that corner. That last round felt much more vanilla from the Renegades in terms of how you engage on Frog Isle. You send the aggro tank +1 to sit near the statue / the trees and try and push the enemy stairs, but that just never happened. That really wasn't what was working for the Renegades in those early rounds, and it didn't work for them later on.
Well, I think the only thing harder than fighting back from a 4-0 7-minute game is to fight back from a 4-3 20-minute game where you looked really, really good at the beginning and then fell off, right? Like that it almost hurts more morally then than it does if you were able to just, cool, we got wiped by the #1 team, whatever. We almost beat the #1 team is a different storyline.
There's silver linings there for sure. There's definitely a silver lining for the Renegades here. Put up a much better fight. If they could have put together one more round like their first round that they had, then that would have been a game in pocket for the Renegades against NIP, something I don't know if anybody guessed would have happened. Frozen Guard, though, is the map selection for the Renegades. This is loser's pick, so from here on out in the set, whoever lost the previous game chooses the next map. However, Frozen Guard is a very good map for NIP historically. I don't know if this was the right choice.
This is one where Renegades, to me, and I feel like they've done it twice in a row now, they've gone for the Maeve. And if I remember correctly, they were one of the first teams that actually started picking her up for the PPL in general. And this is one where I wouldn't be surprised if she came out. This is actually one of the first few maps where Maeve was like making that breakthrough. And it's a good map for her if she comes around. You can kind of flex around whatever playstyle you want. But like you said, this is an equally strong playstyle and map for NIP, who I'm sure now are going to take things. I think that was like the snap back to reality, right? Like that was the, we like can't mess around even slightly. Like a Fernando might be too weak. We don't want to go for him unless we absolutely have to. Like maybe we have to shift around our priorities.
Well, the bans are nearly locked in here. NIP with second pick, banning Makoa. Genos and Torvald already gone